Hello and welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. Today's video going to be a wee midweek roundup of Celtic news plus a couple of wee topics for a vote in the David67 community channel a poll section. The topics we're going to cover today primarily around Kasper Schmeichel's shoulder injury, with the potential for Viljami Sinisalo to come in and replace him either in the short term or medium term, whether it's worthwhile giving Brendan Rodgers another 3 years of a contract. That's been a new story bubbling under with some speculation. And finally, a new story that's starting to break out in a few different places, the possibility of Kyogo coming back to Celtic in the summer of 2025, given that his time at Rennes in France hasn't been very successful so far. So, first topic is really an update on Kasper Schmeichel's shoulder injury. He injured his shoulder against Portugal, playing for Denmark, diving for the ball. Was in pain straight away, but had to carry on playing, and Denmark had already made all their substitutions. He was clearly in pain for the rest of the game, did make a brilliant save, which triggered off more acute pain. Straight after the game, Kasper Schmeichel was taken to hospital in Lisbon. His x-rays were all clear, which ruled out, obviously, a dislocated shoulder and any broken bones in and around the shoulder. He then was to come back for a scan of his shoulder to further confirm what sort of injury it is. No results as yet of the scan, and I'm pretty sure that's all going to get updated now on Friday at Brendan Rodgers' pre-match press conference. Quite a lot of speculation as to what sort of injury Kasper Schmeichel may have had. The most likely injury, given the fact that there was no fracture and no shoulder dislocation, would be a thing called a rotator cuff injury. For those who are technically minded, a rotator cuff is a combination of 4 muscles and tendons in and around the shoulder to provide stability and range of movement. And the rotator cuff makes up 4 of the 7 muscles and tendons that act together around the shoulder. Commonly, this sort of injury happens with wear and tear over many, many years. However, it also can occur in situations like this where someone has a fall or dives and lands on their arm or shoulder, and that seems to be the most likely cause of Schmeichel's injury. And I wouldn't be too surprised if in a couple of days' time that sort of injury type comes out. Typically, the recovery time from that can be anything from 4 months up to 6 months. If it requires surgery, again, usually 4 to 6 months out with the injury. And so we're maybe looking at Schmeichel being back for the end of the summer, around about the start of the new season, or possibly longer. If the shoulder surgery is unsuccessful, can be much longer out, obviously requiring further surgery. However, given the fact that Schmeichel is young and otherwise fit, one would be expecting, if it is a rotator cuff injury requiring surgery, that he should be out for 4 months up to maximum 6 months. That also kind of fits in with stories coming out of the Danish press. Celtic, however, do have a ready-made replacement for Schmeichel in Viljami Sinisalo. He is 23, 6'3", so he's a wee bit taller than Kasper Schmeichel. For a 23-year-old, he actually has a lot of experience at various different levels, 145 career games, just 1 game for Celtic so far in the Cup. However, he has had experience at various different levels for Aston Villa. Also has played lengthy spell for both Ayr and Exeter, and a short loan spell at Burton Albion. I personally don't have any real doubts that Viljami Sinisalo is a good Celtic goalkeeper. I think he's going to get better and better, and I think he could be potentially, in a few years' time, as Kasper Schmeichel's career comes to an end, I think he could be a ready-made top quality replacement. And he's had 41 international matches at all levels, and he did look a very good goalkeeper in the friendly between Finland and Scotland last year. So I fully expect on Friday that Brendan Rodgers will be giving us some not good news, that Schmeichel's out for several months, that he's going to need surgery on that shoulder. However, I think if Sinisalo can step in, and Scott Bain is a very experienced backup and did step in pretty much okay on the few occasions he had to when Joe Hart was our main goalkeeper. So fully expect to see Sinisalo on the team sheet, at least for the next few matches, and if things do look as poor as it does appear, most likely in the longer term for several months, up to maybe 6 months, if he does require surgery. Now, there are a couple of news stories just starting to increase in number. Are speculation regarding Celtic sitting down with Brendan Rodgers over the summer to extend his contract. His contract runs until June 2026, and so in a couple of months' time, it will be 1 year to go. It does look like Rodgers is enjoying his time again at Celtic. He obviously has had big success, 2 trophies last year, on course for 3 trophies this year, progress in Europe, and I think personally he'll be keen to stay at Celtic for another few years to build on that domestic dominance and also to do better and better in Europe and maybe going 1 step or even 2 steps further over the next few seasons. Looking at Brendan Rodgers' career as a Celtic manager, he has 10 trophies, and there's an argument to say that the 2 additional trophies that we won in 2018-2019 season could also go down to him. He won 2 trophies in his first season back, and as I said, is on course for 3 this season. His total career as a Celtic manager: 267 games, 187 wins, 40 defeats, 40 draws, and a 70.03 win rate as a Celtic manager. And actually, in both his first spell and his second spell, the stats are pretty much identical. And over his whole career, including time at Leicester and at Liverpool, etc., his career is 786 games as a manager, 423 wins, 155 draws, 208 defeats, and a win record in his whole career at 53.82. So obviously not such a good win record when you bring in Leicester and Liverpool, etc. He's currently on £2.5 to £3 million a year, making him by far the highest paid manager in Scotland. And I can see Celtic offering him in this June, July, August spell another 3 years at a similar salary of £3 million a year. Wouldn't be too surprised if Rodgers takes that contract option, as I think he is keen to show a long-term legacy and career record at Celtic. So I personally would vote very much for Rodgers getting another 3 years, but I will put up a wee poll in the community section, so do lodge your vote there. Other story that's starting to gain quite a lot of traction is that because Kyogo hasn't been doing terribly well at Rennes and seems to have fallen down the pecking order of striker at Rennes very quickly, there is speculation that Celtic may look to bring him back to Celtic in the summer, much like we have done with Jota and Tierney, selling them for big money and then bringing them back at much a cut price. We, of course, got 10 million for Kyogo just in January 2025. And the speculation is that Rennes would be looking for 3.5 million or so to sell him in the summer of 2025. At Rennes, Kyogo has had rather a disappointing time. He has played 4 games for them so far, 1 start and 3 times coming off the subs bench, and he's also been an unused substitute 3 times. He has no goals, no assists, and has just played 112 minutes in those 4 games at Rennes. However, what was quite significant was he was recalled straight away to the full Japanese squad. He was unused in the first Japanese game of the recent break. However, he did come on for 15-20 minutes or so at the end of Japan's draw with Saudi Arabia, and was obviously in that squad with both Ryo Itati and Daisen Maeda. It does look like Rennes are already looking at new strikers for the summer and are rumoured to have lined up a 35 million euros bid for a striker, which obviously would push Kyogo down to third choice at Rennes, as currently he is only second choice. In recent interviews, Kyogo was very positive, but only really talking about the rest of the season, but was looking to improve his game, improve his speed and fitness, and get back into the manager's plans as first choice. I think it was interesting that Kyogo was talking about the rest of the season rather than talking about the rest of the season and the 2 years after that on his contract. His contract does run through to June of 2027. But as I say, several stories suggesting that Rennes are keen to move Kyogo on. And I, for one, would be happy to see Kyogo coming back to Celtic. I think he does fit in very well to our system. He was very much a proven goal scorer for Celtic, 85 goals in 165 games for us. So pretty much a goal every couple of games. And was always a big contributor to Celtic and often came through in those big games such as cup finals and games against our big rivals Rangers. So I also would vote for yes for Kyogo coming back to Celtic, but I've popped a wee poll for that question also into the committee section, so do please lodge your vote there too. And better news for our on loan player Luis Palma, currently on loan in Greek football. He's played 2 international matches for Honduras over the international break, scoring in both, and was a big factor in Honduras beating Bermuda home and away to go through to the next round of the CONCACAF tournament. It'll be interesting to see whether Brendan Rodgers has any intention to bring Luis Palma back into the first team squad, or simply will look to cash in on Luis Palma's improving form over in Greek football, where he's been getting better and better and been a star player in the last couple of matches for them, and clearly was a star player for Honduras in their 2 international matches just over the last week or so. Quite a lot of speculation also regarding Mike Nawrocki and Celtic. Some stories that he is being looked at to get taken back to Polish football, as he's not getting very much game time at Celtic. Some thoughts that Nawrocki came to Celtic too early in his career and could have done with another year or two in Polish football before coming to us, which is an interesting theory. And a similar story for Gustav Lagerbielke, again thought maybe just to be a year or two too young to come into Scottish football from their own domestic game. Lagerbielke certainly seems to have made massive progress in Dutch football, where he has been a star player for 20 Enschede. And again, in the summer, Brendan Rodgers will have a wee bit of a conundrum to solve as to whether to keep Lagerbielke and Nawrocki, let one of them go or let them both go, and look to bring through either a new backup to go with Liam Scales, Orson Trusty, Carter Vickers, or bring through a couple of our younger talented centre-backs such as Dane Murray. So I think over the course of the summer we might well see a couple of the players in their early mid-20s leaving, and maybe a more experienced player coming in and looking to bring through the young centre-backs from the academy and B team into the first team. One other interesting story that's starting to also increase is that Matt O'Reilly appears to have his days numbered at Brighton, and they're looking to offload him in the summer. There does appear, as before, to be quite a lot of interest in Matt O'Reilly from Italy, with Roma being the top of that queue. Although I suppose, and this is just speculation, a loan season back at Celtic might be another option for Brighton to look at with regards Riley's development. He did start straight away for Brighton, unfortunately got injured in his first match, and since then has really struggled to get even back into the squad, never mind back into first team football. And recently, more often than not, he's not even been on the subs bench for Brighton, and so it may be for his career development he does need to look to move elsewhere. I think if there is interest from France and Italy, as is being put forward, I think he's much more likely to go to them, although it would be nice for me also to see him come back to Celtic on a season-long loan, as I think he would be a big factor again for Celtic, both in Scottish and European football. So that finishes things off for today's video. A nice sunny day where I live. And so do feel free to pop your votes into the community section for those two polls. Do feel free to pop your pleasant, polite thoughts and opinions and comments into the comment section regarding the Rodgers question, the Kyogo question, and any other Celtic issues. And do feel free also to click that subscriber button if you're not yet subscribed, because even 1 or 2 new subscribers per day does make me so happy. And so until the next video, goodbye and hail, hail.